Hey, welcome to Guitar Knobs, the guitars, gear, noise, and nonsense podcast, hosted today by these knobs.
Tony Dudzik, Pick Guardian.
Jared Brandon One Pickups.
Hey, this is me, Todd Novak. Welcome to the Guitar Knobs podcast.
Hello.
We are thrilled to death that you are listening. We appreciate all of our audience out there. For those of you who don't know how this typically goes, we've got somebody special on the line.
Hey guys, I'm Filipe Pampuri. I'm the owner of Beetronics FX, and I finally made it here, man. Thank you so much for having me.
Welcome.
Good to have you.
Yeah, we're really excited. Beetronics FX. Anybody who is digging pedals these days has surely come across and dropped their jaw when they see a Beetronics pedal. They are,
Thank you, man.
I think, pretty singular in the pedal world and coveted by quite a few. So we're going to find out more about Filipe's story and how he came to make up these really insane pedals. If you are following along and not driving, you can go to Beetronicsfx.com, Beetronicsfx.com, and check out his stuff. And let's get some stuff done real quick. Sorry. If this is your first time to the Guitar Knobs podcast, welcome. Just very briefly, I want to mention that we focus on boutique builders of guitars, amps, gear, pedals, and the like for those who fly a little lower under the radar. Maybe not some of them big giant guys. People who are doing really unique things in a way that is helpful and lovely to all of us.
And unique.
And unique. Did I say unique a few times?
We give you a voice to tell us all about it.
Yeah. So, welcome. We've got a super fantastic show. I'm really, really excited about this.
Hey, you know what? I wanted to bring something up here that I really love the microphones we're doing this podcast with. They are Rode microphones. And the particular microphones we have are the Procasters. And not only did they provide us the microphones, they gave us this awesome hardware, and you could just place the mic wherever you want. You don't hear the or the
Well, now they do.
Well, yeah. I was simulating those old timey.
Yes.
You know.
Yes.
The hardware is just impeccable.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
It's not a Telecaster.
That's
or a
right.
Stratocaster.
It's a Procaster.
It's
Nice.
a Procaster. Thank
For
you so
pros.
much, Rode, for providing this, and to Grado Headphones for providing the headphones that are on our head so we can hear Filipe calling in. Where are you calling from, by the way, Filipe?
Yeah.
I'm in Los Angeles right now.
From all the way from
Vermont.
Los Angeles. It sounds like you're right here in our studio with us.
That's correct.
Oh, yeah. Hi.
So thank you, Grado Headphones, for supplying those to us. Gentlemen, I think we can get on with what's going on in our music worlds this week. Tony.
Wow, that was quite the delay.
Yes.
This week, so I have joined with Todd and Jared in their Jazzmaster quests, Jazzmaster-ish building quests.
Yes.
Yes.
Jazz Masher.
Jazz Mashers. Jared was looking for some bound neck with block inlays.
Good necks.
And we were looking for a couple of options, and I stumbled on one on an auction site online. Jared made contact, ended up buying it, and then I noticed the same guy had one that had a Strat headstock, so it's a little smaller headstock, which is my preference on Jazzmasters. I like the smaller headstock ones.
I like the big ones.
Well, that's, whatever you like. It's whatever you like.
That's what it's about, man.
So I ended up ordering one of those, and then I was looking for some Jazzmaster bodies, and I found a super, super great deal on Warmoth. They were just blowing out this one. Actually, I had two of them, but the one in particular that I wanted had a gloss finish. And what I'm doing with mine is in the mid-'90s, Fender Japan put out a Ventures Jazzmaster. Has a different guard.
It doesn't have all the quirky controls.
Yeah, well, that's one of the things they spec'd, that they didn't want the upper controls, the rhythm section, as they say. And so it just so happened I was making one of these guards for a friend of mine, and I said, "Boy, if I ever build a Jazzmaster, I'm going to do it this way." And lo and behold, it just sort of happened that, the neck showed up, it's not here yet, but it showed up in my world, and then Warmoth had this body, so it's going to work out perfectly. The body is routed perfectly without the upper section, so it's going to work out just fine. But so waiting for all the parts to arrive, and we're going to go from there.
Cool.
And we'll all have
what?
the Jazz Masters we're building.
The necks that we were looking at, they have this killer bird's eye. So of course it catches anybody's eye, right?
Even a bird's.
Well, that's true. Because the birds see it, because it's the bird's eye. And
Yes, Jared? Did you get stuck?
I did. I got stuck.
I forgot my words.
No. Well, of course you're going to want to buy the neck because, usually you have to buy a Fender custom shop to get, a neck like that.
Well, even more, I mean, it's a very expensive option to go with both binding around the fretboard and block inlays, which Fender did in the mid to late 60s.
Sure.
And they occasionally release ones like that, but they're usually pretty top end.
Right. Well,
There
very
you have
cool. Yeah.
So that's what's happening in my world.
That's fantastic.
Oh, and Jared is going to make me a couple of his wide range humbuckers in Jazzmaster covers.
Those wide range humbuckers are the bosom, everybody.
Yeah. Hey, you get a nice, thick, giant, loud, yet clear and articulate tone.
But there's no more adjectives, so there you used them all up.
Used them all.
Yeah.
I couldn't have been more serious. That's what they sound like.
Yeah, I get you. Cool. Thanks, Tony. Filipe,
Yes.
what's going on in your music world, buddy?
Oh man, this week was a crazy one for me. We actually finally finished what I'm pretty sure is the very last prototype of our new pedal, the Royal Jelly.
Oh, yes, I've seen notes about that.
Yeah, it took me a bit just to get, it's like almost like stupid stuff, but like final details that I want the box to, be very perfect and everything to fit in perfectly. So it took me a long time back and forth between making prototypes and all that. And I finally came to a point where I'm like, all right, we're done. We can start making. That was really cool that I did this week.
Cool.
I had already finished the Buster, which our other pedal that's going to come out together with that
So you
one.
have 2 new pedals coming out.
Yes, we have 2 new pedals
That's
coming out.
awesome.
But then also this week, I finished a prototype, which is not a final prototype. It's just a circuit-wise prototype for a new pedal that I hope we're able to put it out maybe in a couple of months. But it's a really cool, weird one that's going to join the Walk the Hell and the more crazier side of Beetronics. So I'm very excited about that one personally because I want it on my board like very bad, So now I have one done that I can have it on my board. And what else I did? I did put together a new pedal board last night because I got a gig tomorrow I got to play. So I put together a little board and has only 5 pedals in it, which usually sounds weird, but the more pedals I make, the less pedals I actually use in the end.
That's interesting. Do you typically have a bigger board?
I used to have a really big board. Like I used to trip on all the stuff, like, the loop switchers and the whole thing and having a bunch of stuff. And I don't know if it's just because of being lazy, but it went shrinking. And nowadays, most gigs I'll play with like 5-6 pedals at the most.
Yeah.
But I will build a bigger one. I've been talking to a friend of mine. I have this friend, he has a company called Recycle Pedal Boards, and he built the one that I actually have nowadays.
Oh.
And I was talking to him actually a couple of weeks ago that we need to build a bigger one. So I started on a new project. And yeah, it's the one we had at the NAMM show for this year's show. We had the board that he made. They're amazing, really well built.
Excellent.
The one I have has a really cool like opening section that you can open. I don't know, it's hard for me to explain without visuals, but you can pop it up the whole top of the board And then on the inside, I have the power supply and everything.
Oh yeah, I know. It's
inside.
kind of like a flip top.
Yeah, it's kind of like a flip top. And then my idea is for us to build a new one that's going to be bigger, and some pedals are going to stay on the inside. Because I was running this one with a Holy Grail inside, just so if I came to a gig that the amp didn't have reverb, I would just turn that thing on and leave it on at all times. So yeah, that's kind of what's up with me.
Oh, that's cool. Alrighty, Jared, what's up?
So we went to the Indianapolis Guitar Show recently.
Yes.
And we did talk about this last podcast. I bought the Mutron 2 phaser pedal.
Are you going with Mutron or Mutron?
Mutron.
Okay.
I don't know. So anyhow, at the show, there was also a Mutron biphase. And that's not really a pedal that you put on the floor. That's basically a big...
Paperweight.
Yeah. It's a big, giant console thing. Well, not big, giant. It's about a foot by a foot, maybe. And
That's big. You need a big pedal board for
pretty
that.
large.
Yeah.
But anyway, on the bottom of it, there is a hole that you screw it on the top of a mic stand. And that's so it's right there, and you can just walk up to it, and you can make adjustments on the fly while you're playing.
I picture like Air, the band Air, using that like on stage, you know? I don't know if everybody remembers that. They were great.
But, you know, I suppose artists may have it like on the side of the stage, or their tech has it in the back and they're operating it or whatever. But I looked into it, and I kept looking at them, and it just fermented in my brain. So I had to get one. So I called somebody that I already do business with, and they had one in stock, and he gave me a really great deal on it. And so I went for it.
Is this a new pedal, or is it? I'm kind of.
It's older
lost.
than all of us except for Tony.
It's old vintage.
It's an old Mutron. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Cool. Right, cool.
Yeah.
I think it's from the mid 70s, like early mid 70s.
Yeah, that's cool. I think I know which one you're talking about.
The big
I
giant.
wonder why people don't make more stuff like that, giant stuff. You know,
I think we're seeing a turn in that.
Yeah, I tend to like those things better than the smaller, and I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, what really sold me on this thing is that you could actually stereo phase.
Nice.
So that made me that put me over the edge and made me want it, you know, check it out. So I got it, and sure enough, there's templates that you put over the whole unit, and it marks out where you put all the buttons and switches and whatnots to get that sound. And so I did that, and I had two different amps, and you play your guitar, and it's just it totally puts a whole new tone on all your guitars.
That's cool.
It's layering. It's a really great experience to be able to use it, like the whole thing, you know, to be able to utilize what it all has to offer instead of just having one amp. I haven't done everything you can do with it because I'm still on the stereo phasing because I like it so much. But, you know, one day at a time, you know,
Yeah.
I'll see what it
Did you
can
put
do.
it up on the mic stand?
Yes, I did.
Yeah,
I sure did. I'm 6'6",
cool.
man. So it's a lot
that's
easier.
cool. It's kind of, I don't know. I find it kind of weird, but cool at the same time. You know, having it there, and especially on like a stage situation if you're playing live. It's kind of weird to look at it and see what the hell is that guy has there. But
Well, it's kind of like Jimmy Page walking over to the theremin.
Yeah, I was
Yeah,
going to say, you can put that right next to your theremin.
But I mean, really, Filipe, I think this is kind of maybe something that you're hedging towards right now, which is, you know, when you said, I wonder why people don't make, you know, these kind of things anymore. It's like, think about what Johnny Greenwood does. He spends half of the show on his knees twiddling the knobs on the floor, right?
Exactly.
Or at least used to, you know? And I know that there's several other bands that tend to do that as well. So the idea of being able to have those controls, there's a band that plays in town with us actually called Way Yes. Little shout out to Columbus super group.
Heyo.
And one of the guys in it basically has a stand He just uses a music stand type of situation. It's almost like a pedal board on a stand. So
cool.
he runs vocals and stuff through that too. So
Nice.
he's able to actually play the pedals. And that's a thing that most people don't do. The pedals are on the floor, you turn it on, you turn it off. But nobody's playing the pedals.
I mean, I guess nowadays that's starting to become a little bit more popular, just because also in a sense, like the new like indie and more hipster bands, they're more willing to try different stuff in a sense, you know, than like sometimes, a rock group like full rock and roll, the guy's gonna say, I'm not gonna have a pedal board on top of like right in front of me. No, screw that, so it's kind of like different.
And these Mutrons have stood the test of time. I mean, you got Rick Derringer,
They're built really
and
solid.
Tons of stars use these, and then our Smashing Pumpkins use this thing for Siamese Dream.
Interesting.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, as for me, since nobody asked, whatever.
Yeah. What's going on in your
So
world?
at that same show, I bought. It's one of those things where you're driving home and you're like, what did I just do? But there was a Blues Deluxe tweed, a USA made, that everybody tricked me into buying. I got a really good deal on it.
You were psyched out about
I was, because the big thing is that it had a cab with it. So I essentially got the Blues Deluxe and the cab for basically less than what I would pay for a used Blues Deluxe. So I was really excited about that, because I want to be running a cab on each side of the stage in my gig setup. And this was it was a good deal. I can honestly say I had never played a Blues Deluxe. So all the things that I would tell someone not to do, I completely did. And we waited till the end of the show. I checked it out, and the guy gave me I got a hip replacement. I've had a knee replacement. I live, 2 states away. So I'm thinking he probably doesn't want to take this home. I should make him an offer. And I got that. But this is my thing. It sounds amazing.
Have you tried running like one cab on one side and the other one on the other?
Well, that's what I'm going to be doing, and that's the whole reason I got it. Because
I like that.
I want to have it balanced for the audience.
Yeah, I used to play like that. I was in the band for a long time, like for 8 years, and whenever we started that band, we had 2 guitar players, and then eventually the second guitar player dropped the band and he went back to Brazil. I mean, I'll tell the whole story later on, but anyway, so when he left the band, we would go play live, and it felt very weird to have only sound coming from my side and not having from the other side.
Right.
So I started playing with a 2 amp kind of setup. What I would do at the time was just punch in like turn on the other amp mainly on like choruses and stuff like that, like
cool.
where we needed like a bigger sound. But
That's what I like.
because it felt very weird for me whenever he left. It was like, I don't know. I walk through a stage and guitar disappears whenever I go there. So it's like, I don't know.
Well, and for the people that are in the in the front of the audience too, is like, if you're on the right, we've talked about this. I've brought this up several times. I hate to, make people listen to this again, but the idea that if you're on the left-hand side of the stage and you're in front of the bass player, you don't get to hear the direct of the guitar player, because you're probably too far in front of the PA as well.
Sometimes that's a good thing.
Sometimes, if it's me, it's probably a good thing. So no escaping my hack now. Anyway, so I got those amps, that amp and the cabinet, and I've really enjoyed dialing in my sound at home. But this is one of those silly things. I'm a very aesthetic-minded person, and I've got an aesthetic for the band. And now I'm just realizing these tweeds don't go with my band, man.
Just spray paint them.
I'm thinking about it, actually. I'm not going to lie.
Just spray paint them.
So, the other way out of that is trading somebody for a Hot Rod Deluxe and a Hot Rod Deluxe cab.
They come black.
No, the Deluxes, the Blues Deluxes don't.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So what's wrong with the tweed?
For the aesthetic of my,
It doesn't
the aesthetic
look
of my
right.
band.
Doesn't look right.
Yeah. So, anyways, I'm verdict's out. I don't know what I'm going to do. No, the verdict isn't out. The jury's out. The verdict isn't back. Anyways, hey,
1, 2, 3. 4 on the floor.
All right, Filipe, give us your 4 on the floor.
All right, cool. So I'll start with the newest ones and go towards the older ones.
Cool.
So I guess one of the pedals that I've been actually not living without it, it's the Replicator by T-Rex. The tape delay on the pedal. I'm crazy about tape delays. I have a Copycat from Watkins, an old one, and I work a lot at NRG Studios. Do a lot of work, producing and recording with my brother. And we have there like a bunch of stuff. My brother has a Multivox, and which is similar to the Space Echo. It's one that came before the Space Echo, in fact. And we use a lot the Benson, which is my favorite delay. So the Replicator gives me a little bit of that taste, on my pedal board size, So it's
Is that
really
a digital
cool.
pedal or is that analog?
No, it's an actual tape. It's an actual tape on the pedal.
T-Rex.
Yeah, the
Duh.
T-Rex, the
Okay.
Replicator.
Yep. Sorry.
I guess they have the junior version now, which I hope I get one at some point just because it's even smaller. But I have the regular version. It's great. I love it. I just love it. I've been using a lot to run other instruments through it as well.
Oh, that's cool.
On my little, home studio setup.
Mm-hmm.
I just been everywhere I go. I've been taking that pedal with me because I really like it.
Excellent.
A second one that's like a newer pedal is the Pitchfork, which I guess is pretty obvious. A lot of people love that pedal.
Yeah.
I just recently got one because I'm friends with this. There's this producer called Joe Barisi. He's like an insane producer and a gear geek. And I made him a couple pedals and stuff, and he wanted to kind of pay me back or something. And, he's a friend. He was like, he bought me this Pitchfork. He was like, dude, I think you're going to like it. So since he gave me, it has not left my board, and I play with it a bunch. And it's really cool to create different stuff, to create different riffs. Really cool for like some, I don't know, it feels to me like a lot of music that's going on nowadays more on the vein of R&B and like stuff like that. They use some weird harmonies. With this pedal, whenever you set, like a third or like a minor third or major third, and you go in playing with stuff, you find some weird, crazy stuff that could go very well onto that kind of genre.
Right.
I've been seeing a lot of people, bass players playing that.
Yeah, there's a little bit of sort of like space or psych funk kind of stuff happening right now. I feel like that's coming back a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I love all the people that are doing, that kind of stuff from Thundercat to, Anderson .Paak and I mean, Hiatus Coyote, all these bands that they're like crazy. And I think that pedal would fit pretty well on a setup of any of those guitar players.
Sure.
Obviously, I believe Thundercat probably plays his bass with a pitchfork or maybe a couple pitchforks because he does some crazy sounds.
Cool.
Anyway, so that's one of my favorite pedals.
Great.
Then the other one would be the Vibe Unit, which I believe is pretty much a Uni-Vibe kind of copy, but from Prescription Electronics, those ones, those old ones. I don't know if they're from the 90s or something, that they have the big swirl paint on it.
I don't know if I'm familiar with that.
Was it a Jimi Hendrix?
Right.
Yeah. It's like I believe who made Prescription Electronics. I might be wrong, but I think Analog Mike had something to do with those pedals from Analog Man. I believe, I don't know if he's the one who made it. I'm not sure about the history of the thing, but it's just like a really big box swirl kind of thing, Uni-Vibe pedal, and it sounds very deep, like very, very deep, and it sounds real for me. It sounds natural and amazing. I love it.
So some of them have swirly paint and some of them don't. Actually, some of them look like the what's the brand I'm trying to think of? It almost has like a full tone feel to it because it's just very plain front. Yeah.
like the Deja vibe. They have
exactly. Yeah,
would
yeah.
look similar. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, but this thing, I don't know. I just we had one at NRG, and I used to play that pedal a lot, and it always felt for me like was the deepest vibe pedal that has. It's very meaningful, the sound. So
Right.
I always love it.
Right. Cool.
And then my last one, I included a fuzz pedal because I figure I would have to include a fuzz pedal. It was hard to think of 4 pedals, especially because nowadays I played kind of the same thing all the time, which are mainly my pedals, but not because of preference, just because they're usually closer to me, and I just put them on a board and do it. But my last pedal would be the Fuzz Tone, the FZ1, from Maestro or Gibson or however they would call it. Back in the day, it's probably one of my favorite fuzz boxes. It's very nasty, and I don't know. I would just describe as nasty. Like it sounds. I don't know. It's really cool. I actually got one on a trade a couple, maybe 4 or 5 years ago.
Wow.
I had built myself this pedal, and it was like a little green box that I had built, and I loved that thing. I don't even remember what transistors had on it, but I had some old transistors in it, and I just loved it, and I built it for myself. And then I brought it into this friend's studio, and he was like, "Hey, dude, I want to buy that pedal off you. I want to buy that pedal off you." And I was like, "Oh no, dude, I'm not selling this thing." This was back before Beetronics officially existed, right? Like that was actually one of the friends who was kind of responsible for Beetronics actually starting to exist, because he was one of the first people to ever buy a pedal from me. And he was like, "Dude, I want to buy this green thing. I want to buy that pedal. I want to buy." And then he had this fuzz tone laying around that he bought it and he didn't like it. And he was like, "Hey, dude, what about I give you that fuzz tone for your pedal?" I was like, "Dude, the fuzz tone is like $500 pedal, like this is just a pedal that I built, for myself." I was like, "I know, but I don't like the fuzz tone and I love this thing. I'm going to use this thing and the fuzz tone is just going to sit here."
Yeah.
So he gave it to me, and I gave him that other pedal. We made that trade. And then I had it for a while, the fuzz tone. Eventually I ended up trading, even though I loved the pedal, but I traded because somebody offered me an amp. And I took the amp just because I needed
pedal?
an amp. Yes.
I can see that.
So I was like, all right, I think I'm actually winning on this one. So I took the amp.
Yeah.
Yeah, that original green pedal that I made became an amp. But,
Wow.
Oh, wow.
which was cool. So yeah, the first one is it's a really cool pedal. It is also the very first pedal, I believe, the very first fuzz pedal ever made. It was made, if I'm not mistaken, I forget the name of the guy who came up with, but they were doing a recording on bass, right? I believe that's kind of how the whole fuzz thing became a thing. They were doing a recording on bass track, and one of the channels on the console was sounding like fuzzy, and weird. And then they recorded and loved what they heard, and they went back on to trying to see what was wrong with that channel and recreating that effect. And that's how the fuzz tone came around. And
Wow.
it is, the very first, and the Stones played it on Satisfaction, and it is that classic fuzzy nasty tone. So I love it.
Cool, man. I appreciate you sharing your 4 on the floor. Those are 4 great pedals. I like it. This is going to be fun to put together. So, the 4 on the floor, aside from being just a great little piece on our actual podcast, is also a post that you can check out off of our website at theguitarknobs.com. Look under 4 on the floor, and you'll find all of our guest interviews have submitted theirs, and you can check them out and follow the links to get your own pedal like this.
Nice. I'll try to look for the audio of that bass that I was saying.
Oh yeah, that'd be cool.
Because there is online. I found it back in the day.
Well, if you find it,
cool.
make sure
so you
and
guys
share
can put
it on
it
our
there,
Facebook group.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you can put it on the page too.
Yeah. So we have the maker of Beetronics FX on our show right now.
Bzz, bzz, bzz.
Yeah, he made a big splash at NAMM. I think half of the posts that I saw about NAMM were about you guys running around in your bee keeping costumes and everything.
Yeah, cool.
Great branding.
No, it was fun.
But you have you've got a product that is, as I mentioned before, is singular in the pedal world.
Thank you.
Nothing looks like a Beach. You know it.
It's true boutique.
You can,
what it is.
you can see it a mile away, and you know exactly who made that pedal.
Awesome.
We're going to get into all of the reasons why it is singular. I will say, I think from a build standpoint, there are a handful of people that are really actually they're making pedals, but aside from that, for true guitar enthusiasts, you're making a piece of art.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
That's something that is really neat to have if you're a guitar enthusiast. If you were purely just looking to stomp on pedals and make noise, hey, this thing works. His pedals are amazing to do that as well. But you get the bonus of it being just an incredible piece of work. So, Filipe, how did you kind of get into the guitar music industry, or rather, maybe not so far the industry, but like what turned you on to guitar?
I was born and raised in Brazil, in São Paulo. And I've always played together with my brother since I remember, since I'm 11 or 12.
He's the responsible one you were talking about, right?
He's very far from that. But he does, we try to help each other. Let's put it that way. But no, he's not the responsible one. I guess I would be the responsible one if there was to be one, but no, none of us are anyway. So no, me and my brother, he's a drummer, and we grew up playing together. Back in the day in Brazil, we used to owned a few recording studios in Brazil. That's what we used to do, from my childhood, I went playing guitar and always been on bands and all that, and always playing together with my brother was something we always, I never really had many bands where my brother wasn't in the band. So, and my dad played guitar, my dad played piano and harmonica and kind of anything you give in my dad's hand, he plays. So I was always, into music and always knew that was where I was going to go. And me and my brother, we had a recording studio down in Brazil, maybe 10 years, 12 years ago. We tracked the record with this band that we kind of put together. I'll just make it quick, right? The story, I don't know how long we have, but because the story is long. Anyway, so we had the studio there, and we recorded this album with a singer from Brazil there. A friend of mine, he came in and he was a great singer, amazing guy. And he wanted to record the record in English. And we did the record, and I played guitar on it. My brother played drums. My brother produced the record, and we put together a band just for that record. And it was just kind of for fun at the time. So turned out that the record came out really cool. It was like a grunge band, like in the vein of Soundgarden and Pearl Jam, that whole vibe. And then me and my brother, once the album was getting done, the singer was like, hey, dude, we should try to mix this in the US. And me and my brother were obviously always down to do that because, we work at studios and, here there's some of the best engineers, and people who have done records that we really love. So we ended up, fast forwarding, we ended up getting in touch with J. Baumgartner, who owns NRG Studios. And we came here to mix the record with him, and he ended up signing that band that we were in. So we were here for like a vacation of 30 days at that point, and we ended up staying in the US. They were like, hey, you guys should stay and not go back to Brazil. So me and my brother, our partner there at the studio, kept on taking, and recording the bands and doing all the work that we had to do. And me and my brother just told him to hold up for us to see what was going to go on. So we signed to this label here, and we stayed playing with that band for 7 years. We released 3 records pretty much with that band.
Cool.
And and then we played, for a long time, and I toured pretty much everywhere in the US with that band. And at that time, I was already making the pedals for myself. So that's where the whole pedal thing starts going on. Obviously, I loved pedals and I loved gear. And, me and my brother always having studios and working, producing bands was always something that I was thrilled about. I was always like, oh, this is awesome. And I was always trying, at that point was when I had, my big pedal boards, we were touring and I had loop switcher with everything, programmed. So, every sound I could. And that was with that band as well that I was talking about on the setup on 2 amps and running the 2 amps. And so anyway, so me and my brother, whenever we got here, I don't know if you guys are any familiar, but NRG Studios, which was actually the studio that's owned by NRG by Jay, and they were our label studio, and they are like one of the best studios. In my opinion, they're the best studio there is. Like, it's insane, right? They have 2 rooms with Neves and a room with SSL, and the room just sounds amazing.
Wow.
Every gear you can imagine, like everything you can imagine. And so whenever we got there, we saw, here they had a house tech. They had a guy who would fix the gear. And he would fix, he was there full time just to fix stuff, because at studio, especially at a studio of that level, stuff break every day, like literally every day, right? And they had to have someone to fix stuff. And that was always a problem me and my brother ran into when we were back in Brazil, because we had a studio, but in Brazil, it's not super easy for you to find someone to fix your gear. There's not so many. It's not like there is such a huge industry like here, LA. LA, yes, there's people, everywhere that does anything related to, entertainment and music and, audio and video, obviously. But in Brazil, not so much. And when you have, which we did have some guys that we would send our stuff, it would take very long because they were always super busy. Like, for example, once I blew up an amp, a Fender Rhodes amp. A friend of mine, he had this Rhodes, which it's extremely rare in Brazil, not easy at all to find it. And I kind of borrowed from him, was his dad. His dad didn't know I borrowed from him. And we took for a recording and it blew up the amp. I never found a guy to fix it in Brazil. Never. It never got fixed. I don't even know what happened to that amp. But because everywhere we would call, the guys would be like, oh, no, you're not bringing a Rhodes amp into my shop. Like, that thing is huge and sucks. Like, no, like, you're not bringing that in. So anyways, then that was always an issue. And then when I saw that they had, a house deck and all that, I told Danny, I was like, hey, Danny, maybe I should start learning, about all this and learn about, so we can fix our own stuff, whenever at that time I had just got here and I was thinking I'm going to go move back to Brazil eventually and build a studio again and do the same thing, that I was already doing. So that's kind of how I got started. Then I started researching about it and reading. Like, a good starting point was building pedals. I started building pedals and reading online and forums and books and all that. And that's kind of, but then at the time there was nothing like Beetronics in mind. No, it was never meant to sell anything or nothing like that. I'm kind of one of those people who really like projects, So if you tell me, oh, let's build a house, I'm going to be like, yes, let's do it, So that's kind of just how I am. So whenever I started making the pedals and, as I started progressing and learning more and making cooler stuff, I was always very into making stuff, like really digging in, all right, if I'm going to make this, then what? And this was kind of how it came alive. Like, for example, my wife, she's an architect and designer. And I was like, hey, baby, let's make the boxes. You can draw on 3D, stuff. So can you draw the boxes? And we get the boxes made. At that point, we're making boxes, but we didn't have a pedal brand at all.
So are you still in Brazil at this point?
No. I don't. I mean, I go to Brazil.
No,
very
we're
often.
at this point.
Oh, no. At this point, I was here in LA.
Okay.
Yeah, I had just got here. Maybe I was here for like a year or two. Yeah, but we were here, and that's kind of how, I started learning, and I started making actually the pedals, and even the whole Beetronics thing. It's I'll just go in and tell the whole story about,
That's a very complete backstory. I appreciate that. So
Yeah.
you were in the recording, end of things pretty early on, which probably gave you a very good understanding of audio dynamics and really getting a good picture of what is actually needed for something to sound good. I think a lot of times, especially if you're only coming from a gigging standpoint, most of what you hear in gigging is just loudness and some major effects. The subtleties are often lost, but to me, when I hear your pedals, they are not the big sort of swinging pendulum of, if you go this way on the pedal, it's going to sound radically different than it was over here. You have subtleties, great subtleties built into your pedals.
Yeah, I mean, I think this was, and it's been, like I'm not. My biggest background is actually music overall, and the whole studio thing and recording. Me and my brother. My brother helps me out. My brother is also my partner. My wife is my partner as well, and my sister-in-law. And the four of us work together.
That's awesome.
On Beetronics. So everything that you see that's Beetronics related is either me or one of them, that did it.
Right.
It's only the four of us working here. So,
we're talking about how your pedals are very unique in the landscape. How much of that was a conscious decision and how much of it was just like, maybe wasn't?
it wasn't at all. That's the whole thing. That's kind of where I got lost there on my story. So I never planned for Beetronics. I never planned for doing like even having a brand. Not at all. Like this, owning a business is pretty far away from what my thoughts were always, as far as like I wanted to become a guitar player to exactly not ever have to deal with business, you know.
Right.
That was actually my goal always. Otherwise I would have gone study, you know, something else. But anyway, so it actually it became a thing naturally because I'm very into, you know, how I was saying, projects and doing stuff. So whenever I started making the pedals for myself and I started getting better at it and liking it and started really digging what I was doing, I was at the time at that band and I was like, I want to have this very cool pedal board that's going to look so insane and it's going to sound so sick and everyone's going to ask me, what the hell do you have there? And I'm going to tell everyone, don't even look at it because you'll never get one. It's mine. That was my whole goal, you know, with it. And then I started like, we started like making the boxes. We made a logo, you know, the logo that we have nowadays. I made with a friend in Brazil on one of the trips we were touring in Brazil. And I called this friend, he at the time owned a publicity agency. And I was like, hey, dude, can I come by? I want to make this logo and this, I need your help. And I came in and we sat together and we made the logo. But it wasn't a logo for an actual brand. It was like a logo for my own pedals that were going to be only on my pedal board at the time, you know?
Yeah.
So I was doing mainly for the fun of doing it. I was like, oh, it would be cool, you know, to have a logo. And then, you know, how we have our logo badges that they're all metal and like that. I was actually, you know, planning on doing that just for myself. I was like, oh no, let's make this. And I mean, I was at the time spending money and doing stuff which made no sense on most people's head. But it was just for myself, you know, just for my own personal, I don't know, projects and development.
Right.
And then that band broke up when was maybe 3.5 years ago, something like that. And then I was at that same studio I was talking about. I was there and I was playing guitar through some amps. There I was playing through a Super Thunderbolt. And a friend of mine, Greg Cash, he's actually a great bass player. He plays nowadays with Jared Nichols. Is Is that his name? Jared Nichols, that dude who plays do you guys know who he is?
I don't know who Jared Nichols is.
He is that dude, long hair, dude, blonde dude who plays. He plays Les Paul with only one P90 on the bridge, and he plays only with his fingers. It's really cool. He's getting big. He's getting known. And this friend of mine, Greg, he's a bass player, sick bass player. He has played with a million, artists. And I had this pedal I had made was an overdrive, kind of an overdrive preamp kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And Cash was like, "Let me plug my bass in that. Let me plug the bass in." And we were on a Thunderbolt, a Super Thunderbolt I had at the time. I was like, "Yeah, dude, plug your bass here." And he was like, I love this thing. Can you make me one?" And at that time, my band had broke up. I was broke, and I was kind of trying to figure out what I was going to do, So I was like, "Oh no, dude, I'm not gonna sell." And he kept on, saying. And then at some point, I needed the money. I was like, "Dude, all right, I'm gonna make one." And I made him one. That same week, I think he got me 4 other pedals sold.
So let me get this straight, and I will reiterate this every single time I hear it for every single podcast. Here's another example of someone who followed something that they were interested in, wanted to just simply create and to call something theirs, that turned into an incredibly successful brand and pedal business. I say this every single time because this is the story that we get every time. Someone just says, "Man, I just really wanted to do something constructive. I wanted to do something creative. I wanted to do something in music. I wanted to get a sound that I couldn't find," whatever that may be. And then they end up creating a pedal. And then someone goes, "Hey, dude, can you build me one?" And then the story explodes every single time. I'm smiling right now because I love that story. I think it's fantastic.
Nice. That's awesome. Yeah. I was trying to run away from that, to be honest, at the time. I didn't really want to sell the pedals at all at that point. But I needed money,
Yeah.
My band had broke up. I was back in, I was doing a lot of gigs, playing with people here and there, and doing recording sessions and all that. But it was always very uncertain, my financial situation at that point.
So for those who are not familiar with the Beetronics pedals, they look like they were pried off of an old Russian submarine or some crazy industrial mad science place where every single part, from what we can tell, there are virtually no parts in here that haven't either been that haven't been picked from a pedal parts warehouse. Almost every single part on here seems to be something that it isn't just a nut. It is a die cut and reformed, nut shape. I mean, it's
funny, but it is true. Most of the stuff on the pedals are not actual parts for pedals, made for pedals at all. No, I live in Sherman Oaks, so I'm kind of close to Burbank area.
Yep.
And in Burbank, it's where they used to have they used to build planes there, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they have a lot of warehouses and places where they still stock old parts and surplus weird stuff.
Yeah.
So a lot of the stuff came from that too, a lot of, for example, if you look at our current, even our jacks, the nuts that goes on our jacks are not just the nut that comes with a jack. No.
Right.
It's a different nut that I found a bunch of them and I just bought them all. And eventually I'm going to run out on them, which actually is not too far away of me running, but I already found another one that I like. But I'm kind of picky about the little stuff. Yeah, I'm very picky about that kind of stuff, little stuff, nuts. I'm a bit of a hoarder as well. So I like knobs and I like, stuff like that. So if my wife sees a place where there is a nut, she'll run away from it because she knows I'm going to go there, pick and look, see if I find something that could be useful for a pedal or for anything else. So
and you don't tend to go for a lot of uniformity on it. Even the knobs themselves, they are on a single pedal you'll have a couple different ones. I know that on one of the pedals we were looking and I said, Tony, when have you ever seen a knob that only has 3 numbers on it? I'm like, that one right there.
No,
that's so
those
cool.
ones are cool.
Super cool.
I think I might have 1 or 2 of those. That's the funny thing. So here's I'll get back to the whole part where I was talking about it, where I never planned for this.
Mm-hmm.
So that same guy I had built what was gonna become the Walk to Hell, right? Because I'm not how I said, my background's not electronics, right? So at that point, I was, always tripping on like grabbing circuits and learning how to modify stuff and learning how things work and how can I make it better my own way, right? Because I always knew, and I still feel like that nowadays, that most of the times I know where I want to get. Mm-hmm. A lot of the times I don't know how to get there, and I might need somebody's help how to get there. But it's a good start to know where you want to get, mm-hmm. and why do you want to get, and how you'll figure out how. At that point, that I had built whatever was going to become the Walk to Hell. And that same guy, Greg, he bought the very first Walk to Hell, which was actually the one I built for me. I sold to him. Then time went on, and I went on to like, all right, this is going to be a thing, the Walk to Hell. And we built some pedals that had that 3 knob, the 3-number knob thing.
Yeah.
The 3-number knob thing was something that I found here at like a random shop, right? Mm-hmm. And I bought all of them that they had it. I made the very first, if you look at the video that reverb.com did for the Walk to Hell, they have one of those that have the 3 numbers knob. And since this was never planned to be a brand, at the time I was using those knobs, and I started, they made a video like reverb.com right from the beginning. They've been very great to me. And Jim sent me a message. He had seen my pedals on the website, and he was like, hey, can we make a video of the pedal? Like, we would love to, it would be super cool. And I sent them a pedal with that 3 numbers knob. After all, I went on to realize, I'm like, this is stupid. This is our very first video that's going to have, be showing the pedal to a lot of people. And it's going to be with a knob that very soon we're going to run out, and we're going to have to change the pedal visually, And that's kind of, I don't care in the end, but if you think from a business standpoint, like people say, you want to, make it look and grab parts that you can actually always use,
make them collectible. Maybe that's that's.
But then in the end for me was always like the whole idea. Whenever I'll get back onto the story on how we actually became a brand, but the whole idea from the beginning was that everything was going to be different at all the time.
Yeah.
So in the end, nowadays, I just got used to that, and I'm like, all right, I don't care, whatever. If we do run a pedal that we're only going to make 50 or 100 because we only have that part for 50 or 100, we'll do like that, and we'll change it whenever comes to the time. And also kind of how it always went.
Nice. Yeah. So the actual pedals, you referenced the Walk to Hell. That's WHOTA. HELL.
That's my version. That's my version of what the word sounds like. At least that's what it sounds like in my mind. I don't ever hear anybody say Walk to Hell. But
But so you have that, and you have the Octahive and the Overhive. Can you just kind of run through each of those pedals real quick for us?
Yeah. So the Walk to Hell, it's kind of like a crazy beast. I would say it's the craziest pedal out of our current line. It runs. You have a fuzz level that actually all the controls on that pedal are level. So it's almost like if it was a big mixer, because there's no, like the fuzz knob doesn't control actually no gain. It's just the level, which is more like a fuzz overdrive, depending on what you're running, depending on how hot are your pickups. They're going to feel like more fuzzy or more overdrive. And then you have a like 8-beat sounding kind of synthesized sound going together with it. And then you have a master volume. So you can set the level between the fuzz level, the synth kind of level, and the master volume. Then you can also have the fuzz, the synthesized octave can be 1 octave down or 2 octaves down, and you can flip that with a little toggle switch. And you can also turn just the octave off. So if you want to have like just the drive fuzz portion of it for it to play like a rhythm or whatever, and then on a solo you want to jump in with the low octave, because the low octave, it's very crazy on this pedal, very out of control, and it can be very nasty. So you can turn that on and off. So in case you just want to use on a lead on a lead part, you can still have the more normal sound towards the rest of the tune.
What about the Octahive?
Sounds like. So the Octahive is more on the vibe of the Octavia, very Jimi Hendrix-ish sounding. It's really cool. It has a pre-control to it, which sets the level before it hits the circuit, because of the fact that most guitar players will roll back their guitar volume to get the harmonics to really pop up, and you get to actually hear a more noticeable high octave. On that pedal, you have that on the pedal itself, which is really cool and very useful. You can step in and you're already, with a very rich harmonic high octave. And it also has you can turn the octave off, and then it is almost like if you had 2 different fuzz pedals, because it becomes a lot fatter, a lot more on the stoner rock kind of sound, I would say.
Sure.
While the other one's more towards the lead for the Hendrix, lovers. But when you turn it off, the octave, it becomes a very fat and gated and compressed. Not like, whenever the octave is on, it's pretty gated and compressed as well. But whenever you turn it off, it becomes a lot fatter. So you get even more of that compression, I would say.
Nice.
It's really cool, really good sounding. It's I would say people seem to really like that pedal. And I would say that one of the reasons is because it sounds like an old fuzz pedal. It sounds a lot like the
old
classic
vintage one.
Old vintage one.
Well, like the one you called out, the Gibson
like the fuzz tone,
Maestro.
Yeah, it's not like it sounds like that pedal, but it has those characteristics,
qualities,
those qualities. So
you're probably best known for the Overhive. Walk us through the Overhive. This is what kind of put you on the map, right?
I guess we started first making the Walk to Hell and the Octahive, and those were more I would say more extreme sounding pedals, right? So whenever we went on to, and by then we were already a brand, I was like, all right, I guess I saw that a lot of people wanted to have our pedals, but sometimes the guy plays like a pop gig or whatever,
Right.
There's no room for the Walk to Hell in that gig,
Right.
Most likely. Anyway, so, and I was already playing what was going to become the Overhive. I already had one that was for my own board. So that was kind of, seemed logical that we would release that pedal. The Overhive is a very, I would say, super versatile overdrive, not super gainy, but it can be gainy depending on what you're pushing. It has the tone control on the top, which is one of those small little potentiometers, those like little ones.
Yeah.
And the master volume is also one of those little ones. We kept it like that because from my personal liking, when I'm live, I don't keep on tweaking much of the tone or the master volume. I don't really tweak that on on an overdrive pedal.
Yeah.
I usually get to a gig, I'll hear, maybe I'll make a slightly change on the tone, maybe I'll set, the volume of that pedal to a certain level, but I'll most likely leave it there. And that's why it has the big knob for the gain, because the gain, I will end up messing more with it, especially sometimes I get to like a venue and it feels like the other night had a lot more gain, but the knob's on the same spot. So you go there and change for, whatever the surrounding that you are. I ended up messing more with that. That's why I kept that knob like a big knob and the other one's like very small.
Everybody likes a big knob.
Yeah, I mean, I like pedals in general that are big and have big knobs. Like you guys were mentioning about the Phaser 2, the Mutron, the Phaser 2. I love those big, Mutron pedals that have big knobs and feels heavy.
Well, your pedals are very substantial feeling. I mean, they're oversized. They're on a slant box. They're on a what I'm trying to think of the term. It's the clamshell style box. So it's not. Yeah. It's not a.
It's not a one piece that's molded, right? It's
right.
It's like two band pieces that go together.
Yeah. And that kind of goes with the whole like super industrial feel of these. So they're just really fantastic,
cool.
looking and sounding, and it's a great addition to a board. It's a piece to have. You're about to come out with 2 new pedals.
Yes, actually, look wise, I just mentioned the first one. Look wise, the new box, the Royal Jelly box. It's a little bit inspired by those old Maestro pedals as well that have that slanted, but like the bigger ones. I was kind of concerned when we were going to release the Royal Jelly about that portion, talking visual wise. I was kind of concerned because I wanted not only the circuit on that thing is big, and it would be a hard fit for our own enclosures, the actual, the smaller ones. And I mean, there's a lot of controls on that pedal too. It would be hard to fit everything. But then I was like, should I go the opposite way of everybody? Because everyone's trying to make pedals smaller and smaller because it needs to fit people's pedal board.
Right.
But I'm kind of one of those people who like I like the big muff, the big one, I like that prescription electronics that I was saying. That's like a huge box, it's super tall, like it's insane.
There's room
to put
for
on
everything.
any pedal
You can
board.
have it all.
So I love that. So when we went on to making the Royal Jelly, I was wondering, I was like, is people gonna be mad at me for this thing being too big? It ended up that's not too big. It's not super big, but it's bigger than
Sure.
most. Anyway, so we're coming out with the Royal Jelly. The Royal Jelly is I think it's the pedal I'm most excited about from the brand ever.
What does it do?
It is a fuzz and overdrive blender. It's what I've been calling it, at least.
Okay.
So it runs 2 circuits in parallel. So it has a fuzz circuit and an overdrive circuit. You can blend those 2 circuits together. So you can, there is a blend knob that we call the king and the queen. You can flip between those 2. So
cool.
they're like presets, right? So if you have it all the way to your left, you are onto overdrive. If you have it all the way to the right, you are into fuzz, and then you can be anywhere in between the drive and the fuzz. It also has a gain control for the overdrive section. On the fuzz section, the gain is set to maximum, and then it has EQ that runs on both circuits. The EQ is very strong and powerful for highs and lows. It also has a dry blend. You can blend in the dry signal. It's super useful for the bass. If you don't want to have a fully wet sound.
Right.
A lot of bass players feel like they lose bottom end, especially with distortions and fuzz boxes.
What every phase pedal should have.
Yeah, I mean, it is, pretty cool for it to be able to blend in your dry signal on many different ways. I mean, I've been liking it to use the Royal Jelly to do some weird clean tones with a fuzzy background, and that sounds really cool too.
You could end up sounding like you're actually running two guitars.
Yes, exactly. It does. At some point, it's almost like if you had three guitars running, because you have the clean, the drive, and the fuzz. And it also has a thing that we call it the buzz switch. It adds or takes off this very like nasty high end to the fuzz circuit, sounding a lot more on that vein of the fuzz tone, more like nasty satisfaction thing.
Right.
And you can take that off as well.
Okay, I need to ask a very probably more than obvious question at this point. So, where does the bee theme come from?
Yeah, that thing might. I'll try to explain somewhat in English, so it won't make much sense. But I'll say both ways. So, it's my nickname. Making the story short, my nickname in Brazil is Abelha. Became. I mean, I guess that's what became my nickname.
Okay.
But Abelha. Abelha means bee in Portuguese. In Portuguese, bee is abelha. And my friends used to call me Abelha. It's a long story that came from being called Alemão, Abelhão, Abelha. It's hard to explain, but it has a sound
Okay.
to it that it went morphing. I used to be called German, but then I became Abelha. I know it makes no sense, but it makes sense. It makes
It makes no sense, but it makes sense. That's good enough
Yeah.
for us.
Sounds
on the
like
Guitar
something I would
Knobs.
say.
Yeah.
Anyways, but that was my nickname. And then when I was making the pedals for myself, I was, saying Abelhatronics, just especially actually because I really like the Musitronics from, Mutron.
Yep.
The good
And I was like Abelhatronics, and I was writing that, and then since I lived here, I was like, all right, it makes sense to be Beetronics. And it became the whole beating thing, and
Yeah.
we
That's
just
cool.
kept on.
The hive and all the buzz. and-
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
kind
it's
of,
cool. It's a great theme.
And the thing that
We just
really
came out with we just came out with a poster. I don't know if you guys saw it. We came out with a new poster that is actually an Overhive poster. We work with this artist in Brazil. His name is Caramuru. He's a friend of mine I believe he's from Recife in Brazil. And he's insane artist. Makes some of the coolest posters and arts I have ever seen. And he made one that has the four of us. If you look at the poster, the poster is actually me, my wife, my brother, and my sister-in-law working on a overhive, and we are actual bees flying, and it's pretty cool.
That's cool. Well, dude, thank you so much for sharing all about these pedals.
Yeah, for sure.
They are too cool.
Thank you guys for having me. This is
Oh, yeah.
This is cool. It's cool too.
We have a little bit of a segment that we're going to hit real quick. Wait, hang on. Tony?
No, nothing.
Oh, okay. Jared?
Well, it's time for Would You Rather? Would you
Rather? Okay.
What's happening?
Puberty.
Okay.
Would you rather? Okay, this week's Would You Rather. So you won the Rick Nielsen sweepstakes, and you get to go to his secret guitar vault.
Rick Nielsen from?
Cheap Trick.
Yes.
And
Is it a vault or a cave?
whatever you want it to be, my
I want it
friend.
to be a cave.
It's a vault. I want it to be a vault.
It's a vault cave. It's a
vault
It's a
cave.
vault
Okay.
and a cave.
Okay.
So you go in there, and all the guitars that he owns are there, and you get to choose one.
No, well, yeah.
Out of two guitars,
Out of
though. That's
two.
There's
Right.
only two there. There's only two
because
on
this
display.
is Would You Rather, and it's either A or B.
Right.
This week's Would You Rather, guys, you're either going to choose his checkerboard Explorer,
Hammer.
Hammer
which
Explorer,
Hamer had made, yes,
Yes.
or you're going to choose the Rick Nielsen caricature guitar, which is an Uncle Dick double neck. It kind of looks like the taxi cab driver, but it's him.
Yeah.
So each of the necks are his legs.
There's
Yes.
legs in the
and the
reverse.
headstocks are his feet.
Right. There's a reverse headstock and a normal one. So
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you guys are at all intrigued, go look it up. It's pretty cool. I mean, he was pretty famous
It's
for that.
known as the Uncle Dick double neck.
Yeah.
It's pretty wild looking. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. All right. Tony, what are you going with?
Both very cool guitars, but he played that checkerboard Explorer forever, and there is so much mojo on that, among other things. I'm going with that. That is just one of the coolest guitars.
Okay.
And it's got, like I said, it's just from road value, everything. I mean, it's probably pictures I've seen, it's beat to hell.
Yeah.
Right.
But
I saw a copy at one of they actually had a copy of one of those at one of the Columbus guitar shows about a year or two back, and I really wish I would have got it.
Yeah,
Hammer's always made pretty good guitars.
Well, what's really cool about it too is they even painted on the pickups.
right.
Yeah.
The checkerboard.
Everything.
So it's like a total checkerboard thing.
Yeah.
So that is what I am going with. Checkerboard,
is
Hammer,
so cool.
Explorer.
Jared.
I am going to go with the Uncle Dick double neck, and I'm going to write taxi on it with a black marker.
Of course.
That's what I'm doing.
Completely ruined the value of it.
I don't care. It's
It's
really
It's yours now. It's
honestly
yours to take.
it is really cool.
You can have Rick write taxi on it. And then it'll be worth something.
okay.
Yeah. Filipe, which one are you choosing?
I'll have to go with the double neck as well. Just, I don't know, it looks weird and it looks terrible actually.
It's super
it's probably
iconic.
the ugliest guitar I have ever seen, but I would have it just because of that, at least it does its job pretty well,
Yeah.
So I would take that one.
Well, I'm definitely going with the Explorer, the Hammer Explorer, and it's probably, I guess, we're probably the dum-dums because they probably didn't call it the Explorer. So
I believe it's a standard. Hammer standard.
The Hammer Standard, which looks like an Explorer. But I'm with you on that. I mean, every tune that I love, I'm quite sure came off of that guitar.
Absolutely, yeah.
Anyways, that was super fun. Who knows? Maybe one of us will end up with it someday. Or, oh man, we should make a copy of that. We should build a copy of that.
Let's take yours and paint it checkerboard.
Ooh,
could.
the Gibson.
You just need some white electrical tape and black electrical tape.
Anyways, okay, cool. hey, we want to just say a few thanks to a couple people real quick.
Well, yes, we love to thank some very important people, VIPs, if you will.
Oh yeah.
Our executive producers who become executive producers by going to patreon.com/the Guitar Knobs. And in addition to an incredible prize package for becoming a executive producer, Jared, there's something else that happens.
Well, guess what? You get to have your name read on the thing.
Right. And that prize package is your name right on the thing, a t-shirt, a barefoot button with our logo on it, and a sticker pack.
Among other things.
That's it.
I'm throwing some more stuff in.
Oh, you are?
Guitar picks.
Guitar picks.
Everybody
All right.
gets guitar picks.
Okay.
You get a guitar pick. You get a guitar pick.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, Tony,
All right.
go.
So without further ado, I would like to thank the following list of executive producers. Zach J. Wright, Gary Goodman, Darren Gregory, Alex Leggett, Robert Marfleet, John Anglin, Chris Kearney, Sean S. Oliver Gonzalez, John Daly, Robin Smith, Derek Fitzer, Pete Marshall, Carlos Mancha, Matt Brammer, David Wolfson, Martin Cliff, and last but certainly not least,
Tom Berezin.
that's the guy.
Yep. All right. Thank you guys so much for being our patrons. And if you are interested, again, head over to patreon.com/the Guitar Knobs. You can join at $1, $5, or $10 or more dollars if you like. And there's a little something for everybody. We want to say a humongous thank you to the Beetronics founder himself, Filipe. Filipe, where can people find your wares?
Just, I guess, our website, beetronicsfx.com. Our Instagram page is where I guess we connect the most and use the most and communicate with everyone. So that would be probably the easiest
Cool.
path to get in touch with us.
Excellent. And we have 2 new pedals coming up. that maybe we can make sure that you throw on our Facebook group, or just let me know and we'll put them up there for you when you launch those.
Awesome.
And
Tony, thank you for having me, guys. Thank you. I really appreciate
absolutely, man.
Sorry it took me a bit, but
no worries.
I made it.
Better late than never, as they say.
No worries. Always welcome. Tony, where can they find you?
Let's just say you're looking for a custom pickguard for that guitar. It's bugging you. You want to change the pickups. You want to do something. I'd suggest going to pickguardian.com.
I would too.
That's a great place to start. You can also go to the social media outlets.
Yep.
And check us out there.
Good. And Jared?
If you need a pickup repaired, restored, you don't want to get a new one, you want the original one, or you just need a really good set of boutique pickups, please get a hold of me, Jared, Jared, at BrandonWildPickups.com.
Perfect.
And thank you.
You are welcome. You can send us a note anytime you like. Todd at theguitarknobs.com. Visit our website, theguitarknobs.com, and check out our Four on the Floor and all of our podcasts reaching back to Foreverville. Everybody, thank you guys so much for listening. We will catch you next week. Subscribe!
Yeah.
Hey, nice. Well, that's it for these knobs. Please visit our Patreon page at patreon.com/theguitarknobs. Visit our website at theguitarknobs.com for all of our past episodes, Four on the Floor blog, and other good stuff. You can connect with us on social too at our Facebook page and share your gear and stories on our Facebook group. Also, be sure to check out our Instagram at Guitar Knobs. Catch you next time.